We know that we have to transition our city to a green economy. Time is running out, but climate justice must go hand in hand with social justice. Young people, low-income communities and communities of colour cannot be left out. We have to grasp this opportunity to make London greener and fairer.
Hello, I'm Noah. I'm 8 years old and live in North London. London's dirty air meant I used to lay awake coughing and struggling to breathe.
Hello, my name is Dan. I'm Noah's dad.
During lockdown there have been less cars on the road near my house and I've slept so much better.
If we don't act now, my life, your life and the future of our families is going to be at serious risk due to climate change.
Hi, I'm Shifra, a leader from Acton Mosque in West London. Due to the pandemic, many people have been made unemployed, and over 600,000 Londoners are now living on furlough. This situation has been really serious in our member organisations around Heathrow, where tens of thousands of jobs have been made redundant.
Hi, I'm Dana. I'm mother leader from Parents and Community Together in Southwark. I care about the climate crisis because I want my kids to grow up in a safe and healthy place. Heating our home is the major cause of carbon emissions and also really expensive. My apartment used to cost £60 a month for gas and electricity. If my home was well insulated, it would be cheaper. I don't want to choose between the planet and a warm home. That is why we need a London-wide housing retrofit program.
We need to act now. That's why we're calling on the next mayor to tackle climate change by upgrading 100,000 homes with good insulation and green energy, and in the process commit to creating 60,000 good green jobs.
We don't need to accept the housing, jobs and climate emergency. As London citizens, we will create a coalition of over 50 organisations to work with the next mayor to rebuild our homes and get London back to work. We have colleges that will train thousands of people, employers that will create thousands of new green jobs, and housing associations that will upgrade thousands of homes. With the help of the next mayor, we can win transformative change and ensure that every Londoner has a warm, well-insulated home, decent job, and a cleaner, greener city. Together, we can make this happen.
Together, we can.
Good evening. My name is Agla and I work for the Reach Children's Hub in Feltham, West London. Many parents of our children are stuck in unfulfilling and unsustainable jobs with very few career change prospects. This has been worsened in the past year where many lost their livelihoods. I am part of this campaign to ensure that the next London mayor gets Londoners like the ones I work with back to work. Mr. Bailey, please respond to our asks.
I think when you talk about climate change and the effect that dirty air is having in London, I think there's some important aspects. We need to take away the sources of that poor air quality. So the buses and the cabs are number one and two in that. Once we reduce that, I think you're starting to talk about boilers as well. So we do a renewed London boiler scheme, a cashback scheme to get these old boilers out of circulation. And of course, that does two things. That means a warmer home and less emissions as well. So improving those boilers, I think, will be important. When it comes to building any new homes, we have to stick to modern building regs to make sure that they are fully green compliant and actually warm. They're much more livable places. I remember living on my estate, and one of the real horrible things was the amount of damp in the estate, and it led to quite poor health outcomes for a number of people, so I think we need to do that as well. When it comes to creating 60,000 green jobs, I actually have a plan to create 924,000 jobs, which covers the issue that you so eloquently highlighted there, and within that you'll get more than 60,000 green jobs. But the real thing here is to give Londoners the opportunity to get their jobs back. Since we've had lockdowns, the unemployment rate in London has raised to 7.2%, and it's been young people who've been mostly affected by that. So we need a new economy to give those young people a new chance. And we need to get London open and moving, because those young people need to be developed as well. They need to be around people who can employ them and give them better prospects in the future.
Mr. Bailey, it is fantastic to hear how our visions align. and we are delighted for your creation of almost 1 million jobs for Londoners. We know, as you said yourself, the climate crisis is happening now, and it's a defining crisis of our generation. And these green jobs need to happen as soon as possible. I have not quite heard a direct commitment to 60,000 green jobs. Would you commit to our audience watching tonight to the 60,000 green jobs as part of your plan?
Yes, and more as well. And I want to be clear as well, when you talk about climate change in London, there's things that we can do to lower our CO2. In the middle of London, we have a green superhighway, also known as the Thames. We can use that to bring some of our heavier goods in and out of London. One barge on the Thames removes 50 lorries from the roads of London. It's these kind of innovations that will lower the traffic, lower the poor air quality, and make London a more breathable, better place. It means that people will more likely to walk and cycle, A, be safer, and just be more pleasant, to not be big lorries speeding by every 2 minutes. These are the measures we can do in London, but we also have to be careful that we don't pass on the costs to the poorest Londoners. We do not want Londoners paying for rich Londoners to drive around in their cars. So we need to be careful about zones we put in. We need to be careful about barriers we might put up to making Londoners be able to participate in this green revolution. We mustn't attach the words green to cost. People must see it as entirely positive.
Mr. Bailey, thank you so much. London citizens, we have just heard Mr. Bailey clearly commit to creating at least 60,000 green jobs as part of his plan to create 1 million jobs for Londoners. Thank you so much, Mr. Bailey. Mr. Khan, would you please join me and respond to our asks?
Thank you very much for raising these really important issues. Look, the issue of air quality and climate change is an issue of social justice. It's the poorest Londoners who suffer the worst quality air. It's the poorest children who have stunted permanent lungs forever because of the poor quality air. And it's the poorest Londoners who are most likely to suffer from a whole host of health issues, from asthma to cancer to heart disease and other issues linked with the poor quality air. So it's important that we tackle all these issues. And as the Mayor of London for the last 5 years, I'm the first global leader to declare a climate emergency with a plan to meet the Paris Climate Accord. That's been confirmed by the C40 group of cities. And we've got a plan to get to zero carbon by 2030. The other part of the question asked by those on the auto queue just now, the Vox Pop, was the issue of making sure that we have green jobs going forward. So important. So I've already got together a team across London as part of the London Recovery Board. And we have a Green New Deal worth £50 million over the next 2 years, which will be invested in green jobs. And we're going to use £32 million of the Adult Education Fund to set up the Good Work Fund. And this would mean green academies, academies in creative, digital, health and social care, to make sure our young Londoners have the skills for these future-proof jobs. We can either be the last generation not to get it, or the first generation to get it and address these problems. And we've got a plan over the next 3 years to make huge progress on these really important issues. But we'll need the support of London citizens, because we can't do this without the government support. The nearer we get to election day, you'll get all sorts of candidates making fantastic, unbelievable promises. But we can't meet any of these promises in this agenda without support from the government. So I need your help to lobby the government in the year of COP26 to give us the powers and resources we need to address this really important issue.
Mr. Khan, thank you so much for your response. And I have good news for you on our second ask. Just last week, the G15 group of the London Housing Associations actually committed to upgrading 60,000 homes already. So we have done the lion's share of the work. So we are looking for the next mayor's leadership in getting the remaining 40,000 done. I have not quite heard a commitment from you on upgrading homes. Can I just clarify that if elected, you will provide your leadership and work with us and our housing association partners to get the remaining 40,000 fuel homes done?
Well, the G15 know because of our work over the last 5 years, as do the 32 councils and the City of London. We've been doing lots of work around retrofitting. And some of the ways we're going to create jobs going forward is not just in solar energy or electric vehicles or charging points or greening, but it's in retrofitting. So the good news about this agenda is not only does it address the issue of fuel poverty, it leads to warmer homes, but also it creates jobs as well. So my commitment to you tonight is, as the Mayor for the next 3 years at least, I'm hoping to build on that progress to retrofit even more homes in London. The last 5 years, we've done almost 30,000. We want to build on that going forward.
Okay, so Mr. Khan, just one more thing. So we have had your commitment to working with us on this issue. In terms of green jobs, I'm delighted to hear about the Green New Deal that you're setting up across London. And you have committed previously to 170,000 green jobs by 2030. What an amazing commitment to Londoners. But in reality, as you know, people do need jobs now. And it would be great to see your progress. If elected, will you publish how many good green jobs you create each year for Londoners?
Not each year, we'll do each quarter. I think one of the things I've been as the Mayor is the most transparent Mayor in London's history. And I want to build on that by making sure we regularly publish the amount of jobs that we're creating. So Londoners can see the progress being made and also the great work of the new Green Academy we're going to set up as well. And it's really important we give young Londoners the skills for the jobs of tomorrow. Future-proof sectors, and the green sector is one of those sectors.
Mr. Khan, thank you so much. London citizens, what an amazing outcome. Mr. Khan has agreed to make himself accountable and transparent on the green jobs front. He has also committed to working with us and our housing association partners to retrofit more fuel-poor homes. I am delighted to say, London citizens, that tonight we have begun to transform the lives of over 260,000 people in London by making their homes warmer and getting 170,000 people back to work. Really well done. Thank you.